Welcome to the newest episode of Kinematics Conversations. And yeah, I'm very happy to have a newer friend of mine who we met on social media. And I think we're both active on LinkedIn and on Twitter. And I think this is the first opportunity that we are having time for a longer talk. I asked him if he would like to be one of my guests, and he was immediately on board. And I'm very happy to have you here. And yeah, please, I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for this opportunity. It is a pleasure to be here, and I follow your podcast every day. The minute you release an episode, I listen to it on my way to the gym. So thank you for this opportunity. And my name is Akshet Patel. I recently graduated from UCL London from an MSc in Robotics and Computation just 6 months ago, like 6 months ago. I completed my bachelor's in Mechatronics Engineering from Manipal University, Jaipur, in India. And currently, I am working as a controls and software engineer in the UK. I work at a company called Smart Power Systems, and I'm really passionate towards about robotics. And I started my journey way early when I was like 13 years old. So I have like a huge story to talk about.
Yeah, thanks. And you already mentioned a few things I'm happy to talk about. What I'm always do, because this is a people's podcast, there's a few podcasts out there that are covering the topics of automation, robotics, and but this is not this is for the people that are not too technical. So this is a non-technical podcast. I'm really interested in the people behind robotics. I have a very interesting CV myself, so I'm curious how other people um, what brought people to robotics or automation. And you just mentioned, so you did you finished your studies in the UK at the moment, but you started your journey in India. So maybe we can, and you said you started very early at the age of 13. Maybe we can start there and then see where it leads us to.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. So I started my exploration, I would say, in terms of electronics engineering in general at the very young age of 13, I would say, when I was just exposed to a lot of electronics, toys, and I used to break open stuff just to see what's inside. My dad
Mm,
used to inspire me to do all these things, and he always supported me. My family is very supportive of my projects, and that's why I used to. At the age of 13, I started soldering. I used to buy pre-built circuit boards and buy all the components, solder everything, try to make things work. I must have worked on like 50 circuits in 3 4 years, and
mm.
that was a great experience for me. It opened me up to the sphere of electronics and what input and output could do. And then
And
I made my sorry, yes.
no, sorry for interrupting, but when it comes to these kind of things, I'm always curious. So because you said over the course of a few years, you were working on a lot you said on a lot of boards. Um, what were you doing with them? So because normally when you're repairing something, there's a goal, right? Or when you're building a project, there's a goal. But on this amount, was this purely because this was available to you, or because this was interesting you, or was there a bigger thing behind that?
It was always interesting to me to work with circuits in general, electronics in general. So I used to just read about what resistors are, what a capacitor is, why it is used, what are the different components on a circuit board, what does 555 timer IC do. I used to do that during my school days. So and the circuit boards, there's a company called Vega Kits. They used to sell printed circuit boards, and they used to sell components separately. So you need to buy the components, buy the circuit board, and solder the components according to the circuit diagram. And
Mm.
understanding, it's like a puzzle piece. So understanding the circuit diagram, doing something with your own hand, something that's risky for soldering or working with the power outlet. I once fused my entire house, so the fuse went off because I connected a DC bulb to the outlet.
Happy parents.
And yes. So that was my first experience of breaking stuff, which taught me a lot. And I found that excitement towards just exploration. So I try to do that regularly. And over the course of time, I was exposed to the term robotics engineer on a show called You Have Been Warned on Discovery Channel. There
Mm.
was a person with that title, and I was exposed to it, and I was like, okay, this is an actual role. People do study it. People do work as a robotics engineer. I don't even know what robotics is. So let me try to do some more research. When I was in school, I used to take participate in like competition, national level science competitions, science fairs, exhibitions. So eventually, with my with super with the help of my supervisors, my mentors at school, my family members, I came to know a lot about education in general, what stream to pursue after like class 10 is the deciding factor. So year 10 is the deciding factor in India. You need to choose
Hmm.
between different domains. I chose science, computer science as my specialization, studied that for 2 years. After class 12, I had made my mind that I want to pursue robotics as a career and as academics. So every
Which year
step
are
that
we
I took,
talking about this? Sorry for interrupting you.
th- no
Which
problem
year
at
is
all.
that?
So I started my class 12 in 2000. I finished my class 10 in 2016.
Mm.
So not too long ago, but then it's been quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So 2016 to 2018 was my 11 and 12th class. Studied computer science, electronics in general. We had a hardware element in the computer science subject. It was very interesting to me. And I already made my mind that I want to pursue masters in robotics from a country that is outside of India.
Mm.
Because at that time, robotics was not very mainstream in India. There were not many formal degrees that you can pursue. So that's why I chose the closest degree after my class 12, which was in 2018. I chose Mechatronics Engineering, which was the closest to robotics in
Mm-hmm.
India.
Mm-hmm.
And I pursued that for 4 years. My bachelor's of 4 years is in Mechatronics Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And even my undergrad journey is very interesting. I try to explore a lot of different domains. I stuck with robotics, but I explored a lot of things so that I know for myself that what I would like to pursue, what I'm inclined towards, what I don't like to do.
And because I have always guessed that have the very interesting paths that actually brought them to robotics. My last guess was an email that actually introduced him to a path into robotics. And I remember, I think it was my first guest, Andreas, um, who is now head of architecture at Intrinsic AI. I think it was one of his last days at the university. Undergrad, I think, where he walked into a room where people were working on robotic topics. Um, and so for me here, it seems like this is something that you're one of the few people that very early on thought, okay, robotics is definitely my passion, and I would like to pursue this, and I would like to go deeper into this. I mean, you said you are still very young, and you just finished your master's 6 months ago, but when you're starting that early and being that early already in robotics, that gives you a few years advantage versus someone who is doing something else and then switches or comes into robotics. So interesting things.
Yeah, I think I got a head start that I required. I was always working towards that goal, towards robotics, pursuing my degree. Even during my undergrad, I focused myself on doing things that would allow me to pursue robotics from a good university abroad, which led me into UCL. It's a good school for a robotics degree. And I enjoyed my time at my undergrad, worked with multiple research organizations, institutes, different people across the globe, pursued internships in Greece, in Canada, and Singapore. It was remotely because the active pandemic was going on during that time, 2020 to 2022. So I
So this internship was an internship that was not on site. It was it was internship that
Yes,
were remote.
yes.
Interesting.
So because I couldn't go to the on-site location, that's
Mm-hmm.
why I had to do it remotely. But
Mm-hmm.
I had an opportunity to go to Canada and Singapore, but I
Mm.
just couldn't do it because of the pandemic. But I did get
Mm.
that opportunity, and I think that's majorly because I knew what I wanted to do. I kept on looking for things, kept on reaching out to people, my professors, and just talking to people on LinkedIn. getting to know about their story so that I could learn from them. And I had a very interesting journey. So I started with exploring IoT. I pursued my first internship, my first international internship in IoT security. It was a research internship, a part of MyTax Global Link research internship for undergrad students. And that was based in Canada. And I pursued that. I enjoyed. We even got an output of a research publication out of that internship. So it was a
Mm.
very good experience for me. And
And whereabouts in Canada?
so the I'll explain in short. MyTax is an organization which connects students to professors, Canadian professors.
Hmm.
So they intermediate this entire process. We need to apply to MyTax, and I applied to MyTax, and I was matched with a professor at Lakehead University in Ontario, in Canada.
Mm.
So I interned there for 3 months remotely because of the pandemic, but I got a good experience. I got to learn about a lot of things, simulated protocols on the simulator, IoT simulator, and got a research publication at the end of the internship. So it was a great experience. Then I was I was actively working on IoT projects, DIY projects. I took up a subject, worked on a minor project, which was smart agriculture system. Then worked. Then I was exposed to virtual reality, augmented reality. My department at Manipal University had recently signed an MOU with a company in Greece called InfoSuccess 3D, and they were looking for a few students whom they can train and who could pursue an internship at the company. I was selected to be one of them. They trained us for a month to develop a basic 2D and a 3D game. Then they trained us to make an augmented reality simulator, an application, and we've even created a simulator for COVID-19 virus, a
Mm.
simulator that can overlay the virus on the surface through the camera. It was meant for educational purposes, wherein people have difficulty understanding how the virus could spread from one object to other, how long it would stay on that object. So it was a very good project, a research project again. We got a publication out of it. The application is on Play Store right now. So it was again a good experience. Eventually,
So what is interesting me because you're now, I mean, you said you had a few setbacks in regards of the or taking the pandemic into account. But I think a lot of people, I mean, especially a student from overseas, and here it doesn't matter where they're coming from, but um, what is your experience in applying these internships, or even you said that I mean, coming from India and then going to the UK, how difficult is it, or was it for you to actually get internships or get the opportunities working for different companies, or getting in contact with them, as you said, for example, with the organization that brought you together with the Canadian professor. I think this is something that a lot of people in your position or a lot of young students are very interested in. And maybe you can tell me what was your strategy in overcoming this? Did you have a very good network already? You mentioned LinkedIn. So what would you if you could speak to your younger self, what would you say? Okay, this is my biggest learnings. These were the things that really helped me achieving my goals and really getting into the industry or getting into those internships, for example.
so yeah, thank you for asking this question. I wanted to share this. If a younger audience is watching me right now or listening to me right now, I would like to advise you to start early. I think undergrad is a time where you find your true passion, find your true purpose of studying or your work career. You have time to explore a lot of things. So to explore, you need to have the knowledge of what to explore. So start early, start talking to people. Just have a conversation with your friends or your peer group, or have conversation with random people on LinkedIn who works in a particular industry or are doing a project, or whom you find interesting work they do. So just reach out, network, try to get as much information as possible so that you can start early. And my strategy towards this, that I could advise my younger self, is try to work on skills, because it all starts with a particular skill. there are a lot of skills depending on what subject you're studying, what branch of engineering or branch of science you're studying. There are a lot of skills that you can cultivate. So you have to understand what different skills exist so that you can explore it and then pick up what you are more inclined towards. The
Mm.
way I used to do it is,
Yeah, I think this is the last part was very important because a lot of people are reaching out, very young folks are reaching out to me and say, okay, can you guide me? Can you tell me what is where's the biggest need in the industry? And we do need to realize that there's always a need. Then people see the need, and then with a delay, there will be people going into that particular
yes,
industry or skill or job or whatsoever profession, and then but then at one certain point the demand is or yeah, the supply is there for the demand, and then you will have an oversupply, right? So in your perspective, I mean, even though you're still very young, do you think it makes sense to have a look at what is in demand at the moment, or maybe have a look at the things that are really interesting in you, because you need to stick with things longer, so it makes more sense to actually do the things that you're interested in the most?
yeah, that's a very interesting question. So there are two approaches. You rightly mentioned that there's a trade-off between exploration or you exploit what you already know. So there's a trade-off, and the best way to decide whether to do either of it is try to do both, see what works. But at the same time, I also believe, like, a general rule of thumb is, if you're good at what you do, people are going to recognize it eventually, and you will get a job. You will find something to do, find something to monetize it and productize your skills. So you need to find at least one thing that you can say that XYZ person is specialized in ABC thing. You need to find that thing so that you can base your entire profile, your appearance on that. So that is one thing that you can market yourself when you talk to companies, when you talk to people. And in terms of exploration, I think the reason why I explored augmented reality and virtual reality, I know that not right now, maybe after 10-15 years, this is going to try to become the norm of public life. We are going to use headsets, we are going to use AR glasses, AR lenses, all sorts of augmented reality stuff. So this is going to happen eventually, and the earlier we start the better. Either you be the best or you be the first. That's the principle. I tweeted about it a year ago, I think, and I believe in that. I think you need to have some strong skills. So jack of all trades, master of some. Have one particular strong skill that you can market yourself with, and also try to keep up with the technology. If you think blockchain excites you, do blockchain. If you think augmented reality is your passion, do that. If you think VR is your passion, surgical robotics is your passion, or soft robotics is your passion, or maybe something else that is not even explored that much before. Reinforcement learning in robotics is a very big domain. Quadrupeds, hexapeds, drones, quadcopters, octocopters. There's so many different domains that you can explore, and the sky's the limit. Basically, you have to first. The safer option is to have some skills that you are confident about. It could be Python, it could be programming in general, it could be MATLAB, it could be simulations, it could be control systems, it could be algorithm design, problem solving, or deep learning architectures, developing machine learning models or computer vision models. There's so much that can be done, but students, or I didn't know that there's so much to explore. Nobody came up to me and told me that, hey, you need to explore this, you need to read this, follow these people, or follow these articles. Look what researchers from MIT, University of Pennsylvania, Carnegie Mellon are doing. Look what University of Michigan published. So if you don't have the right people around you, you would not know and you would not explore. That's important, I think.
um I think you just mentioned something. So you don't know what you don't know, right? And
Yes.
so as the more you get to know something, you realize that there's so much behind that. So and I think a lot of young, especially younger people, are overwhelmed with the with the opportunities, and especially nowadays, opportunities are, yeah, I mean, they're just at your hands, at your fingertips, right? So everyone on this earth that has access to a laptop and an internet, has access to everything basically. And
Yes.
so when I was younger, I think this was definitely something that was um, yeah, being an obstacle. So having so many interesting things and being interested in so many things, uh, not necessarily the fear of missing out, but yeah, having curiosity towards different topics.
Yeah.
But I think you said something very true. You do need to spend time to get better at some certain things, and I think here people, or younger people especially, have the fear that I would like to do this. I would like to do this. You do need to make a decision. If you don't make a decision and stick long enough with the boring stuff, you cannot become good enough to be, as you said, be recognized for that or monetize that, right? So, um, and the question is always, how do I make the decision? And I think someone who is, especially on social media, very vocal about this is Gary Vee. So um, when you're listening to him long enough, then you see that he will repeat himself over and over again. But I think because he's so passionate about it, why worrying and why spending so much time worrying versus spending time with something? And I think it's always time for change, right? So I'm getting up. So I'm in the robotic space just for a few years now, and but I really thought, okay, this is very interesting for me. But um, yeah, I'm drifting a little bit off. I would like to give you the opportunity to maybe talk a little bit about what you're doing at the moment and yeah, what you have in mind, because we talked offline a little bit, and maybe you can, yeah, tell me a little bit or us a little bit about your struggles.
So my initially my struggle, I was actually aware of the job market in the UK, and I just had a few personal reasons, and I wanted to finish my degree as early as possible and find a job related to robotics or in the robotics domain. I knew there was going to be a lot of struggle. So I was mentally prepared. I was about to, I was going to graduate in September 2023. I started applying for jobs in January 2023.
Hmm.
So I took myself 9 months to just explore the job market, try to understand the job market, try to see what opportunities exist. I made innumerable contacts with CEOs, with people from the companies, with HRs. I talked to a lot of people while I was studying, while I was submitting my courseworks. But I used to do that regularly. Every single day, I used to apply to at least 2, 3 jobs. Over the weekend, it used to be like 10 to 15 jobs a weekend. And this was because I was playing the numbers game. And there are two approaches. You either find something that is very specific, that is you want to pursue that, and you put all your efforts into applying, to getting to know the company, getting to know the people, trying to create a rapport with the communication with the employees, try to get a referral. That's one approach. But what happens when you don't find the right opportunity to pursue? What happens when you don't see the role that you want to pursue in the country you're in? That is one of the biggest challenges I face when I moved here. I feel that students, especially who graduate, like freshly graduated students who don't have work experience, who don't have country specific work experience, or who just don't have enough exposure to technologies that exist in real life, like industry grade technology, who don't have any exposure to that, they find it very difficult to land the first job, which was also my case. I think I must have interviewed with like 15 companies,
Hmm.
and the only actionable feedback that I got was focus on programming. I don't come from a programming background. My background is mechatronics engineering. There was a bit of programming, but I never studied algorithms. I never studied data structures. So I took that feedback. I worked on it. I'm currently working on it, but now I'm comfortable with it. So I took that feedback, but I just want to address that no matter what background you come from, no matter which field of engineering you come from, you need to have some experience and expertise with a programming language. It can be Python if you don't want to go into the depths of a compile level language like C++ or C Sharp or Java, but you have to know a programming language. That's a major roadblock. So especially me being an international student coming from India, on a visa, on a student visa, then on a graduate visa. Many companies or startups, like most of the robotics companies are startups in the UK, to my experience and knowledge, and they face it.
Sorry, software, right?
Yes, software. So they face difficulties in onboarding students with an international background who don't have experience. They are hesitant to sponsor their visas, because they it makes no sense. I mean, to be frank, even though I feel that it's very unfair and unjust, but from a company's perspective, from a startup's perspective, it is not a logical decision to make to hire a fresh graduate who is on a visa, spend time in training while it's a startup. So they are probably on a short of cash, or they have a tight budget. They have to do their hiring very, in a very informative way. So I understand all of that, but still, this is the major challenge. You need to either have certain experience, bring something to the table, try to be an asset, or play the numbers game, apply to as much opportunities as you can, try to make contacts, try to contact recruitment companies and ask them for help, ask your university career team for help, attend career fairs, attend other colleges career fairs. I think most of them are like open to people. You can bring a guest or something. So do that, because it is not easy. It is not easy for somebody with no experience to land the first job, especially when you are a graduate. So to
Mm,
do that, you have to either be very skilled, or you need to you apply to grad schemes, and then it might not be in this domain, in your domain. So a lot of people I know who studied robotics with me are pursuing grad schemes at, let's say, banks or some other fintech firm. So they are pursuing those things because they couldn't land a job here. Some people went back to their countries. Some people pursued higher education because that was their plan. But
mm.
only a few people got a robotics job straight after graduation with zero experience. And I personally don't even know a single person who did that.
I think, especially the part of the startup and the position a startup is in. I think you're yeah yeah. I think it's very obvious that it is hard to land a job over here. I do think that there's an opportunity, especially because there's the right mindset and there's the right drive, and especially because there's the how do you say this in English? There is the urge to really push and to really how do you say this uh, way to prove yourself, right? So yeah, I think in bigger companies, if you look at the big robotic companies, let's say KUKA or Fanuc or an ABB, so I mean, there's a few big elephants, right? And to get a job over in one of those companies, I think it's very hard. There's a lot of people applying, and they have a very clear idea. Versus on a startup, there's a lot of roles you can cover, right? So at the moment, especially in early stages, you do need to do a lot of things. So I think one of the biggest challenges here, you said, for example, the visa applying in corporate, there's a department just for that. So there's someone who says, I would like to have this person, and then someone else who is a professional just in that process will take care of that, right? Versus a startup that sometimes doesn't even have in existing internal structure. Not even about the hiring process, but about the administrative stuff that needs to be taken care of, so they can actually take someone in. So I think here companies and especially governments would do a much better job if this would be way easier. And here now it gets political, how you're protecting the existing workforce within your country. And here in Germany or in other Western countries where you have a bigger percentage of people that are older than 50 or 60, where very high educated and trained people like you are very much in need. And here we have a clash of two worlds. Yeah, interesting. Just thanks for sharing these. And I think something that you said was very valuable as well. Sometimes you're looking for someone and then you find someone who exactly knows what you need, right? But this is not very often. right? And because you're working on a very specific robotic task, you were just mentioning a variety of topics then that are part of robotics in general. So, and I think here the matches or the chances of landing exactly that spot can be difficult. So you started very early, and I think this is an advantage definitely because when because I'm working with startups for quite a few years now, and in that space and industry, and just lately in the robotic industry. But having experience and here I mean a portfolio of things that you can show that you have been part of. This was not the work I was doing, but this was the project I was doing. So I was part of that, and my work impacted that outcome in that way. I think if you're able to articulate this very well, if you are able to document this very well, and especially you said it, and this is, yeah, I mean, this is the work ethic I think you need when you're playing the numbers game, because there's a lot of people that are very well educated and have very good grades, but having projects in your spare time, on your weekends, in the evenings. And yeah, I don't want to push the hustle culture too much, but it is part of your portfolio, right? When you are able to show, so this was the things I'm working at. Um, yeah, I think it makes it easier for someone who doesn't know you and doesn't have maybe the time or the budget to understand what you're actually capable of. It makes it much easier because you would like to reduce, it's a sales process in the very end. You would like to reduce their risk of hiring you. And
Yes,
mm,
you're absolutely right.
I
Yeah.
I have one more question. Mm, So at the moment, you said that you are working, but
Yes.
we talked off topic. So what are the situation you are in at the moment and what you're seeking? What is your plans?
So right now I work as a controls and software engineer. It's again a very small size company, and they've so currently I'm on a graduate visa. So my plans to are to work here for a few years, get industry experience, get the experience I need, and then apply for a PhD in the field of robotics. So my plan is to get some work experience, get clarity over the problem statements I would like to solve in an industry, and then apply, spend some time pursuing a PhD to solve that problem. So right now I'm in my exploration phase of PhD problem statement.
And is that because I think I read it somewhere on social media as well. So is it really necessary to pursue a PhD, or is that because of the situation you're in? Because I don't really know if a lot of people are getting because I remember I was working for Siemens and it was very hard for them um, to hire someone because they had tight budgets and the financial situation. So, but apparently it was able for them to get people in PhD positions. So what you do is you're getting a PhD student who is working full time and is doing or for certain percentage is working on the PhD position. So and so you train him, but you need to pay him less than a full engineer. And so they are taking advantage of the PhD situation. And because people would like to stay at the job, people would like to get hired after they finish the PhD. They are willing to, yeah, work much longer than it might be if you're a full-time employee where you would earn more. So do you seeking that because you think this is an opportunity or because this is something that has been and is always interesting for you?
So I want to pursue a PhD because I know that that's the right thing for me to do.
Hmm.
But uh, before I talk about that, I would like to address the point that you mentioned. A lot of companies, universities, people are trying to get PhD, like they are like a workforce, and it's like cheap labor in terms of research. You're definitely going to get an output, get a proper solution, a working solution. Only then the PhD will be awarded. So it's like guaranteed output with minimum requirements, financial obligations. PhD scholars in the UK get around 17,000 to 18,000 pounds a year, which is a bit less than the tax bracket they need to pay. So they don't pay tax, but that's the least amount of money, and that's not even sustainable in a city like London.
Mm.
So if you are somebody who is a victim of that scenario, I my approach would be to just retrospect and reanalyze what you're currently doing. Is it worth it? Just be aware of your environment. for example, if I'm working at NASA, I'm working over hours, like 20 hours a day, and they are trying to pay me the bare minimum money, but that's where I would like to see myself working, being. If I like that, then I think there should be no harm in doing that, because you are aware of what you're doing. And it depends on the individual. But my approach to a
Sorry,
PhD
but
would.
there's still a power balance, right? Power disbalance, because it
Yes.
is NASA, and there's no too many companies that are like NASA, right? So there's in the last few years, throughout our billionaires, we have a few more companies, or India or China is pushing very hard on exploration. But I think there's a disbalance, right? And especially a company like NASA has this brand, and so you're saying, okay, there's if I'm saying no, I don't want to do this, there's 20 people waiting outside who would die to just work those 20 hours, right? So I think I'm not 100% sure if this is a real free decision that you can make versus I think this is expected from me and this is the only opportunity for me to work where I would like to work.
I think it's all a personal choice. If they're happy with where they are working, what they are doing. If it's a company affiliated PhD, then I think reanalysis is very essential
Mm,
to just see what you're going to get after it. If you feel that you are being exploited, then maybe work your way up, negotiate a proper deal, because after all, it's a give and take situation. It's not like you're not going to give an output of your PhD. So you have to find the right fit for you. And I agree that a lot of organizations and people might be taking advantage of PhD scholars, but at the same time, if the PhD, like if the person pursuing the PhD is willing to do it, then I think there is no harm in doing that, because after all, everybody is looking for, easy solutions. Like a company will look for top quality solution for the least price. And that's what PhD industry is in. Like if you talk about company affiliated PhDs, but the PhD that I would aspire to pursue is get a grant for myself, get a grant to pursue a PhD, and to do research, and go with that grant to an organization or a university and say that I'm going to bring X amount of money to your department, to your lab, and I would like to get my name affiliated to your university. So be an asset. If you want to take the PhD route, this is a much better approach to PhD. Get a grant for yourself. Try to be that person where organizations or funding agency will invest money on you, and you become an asset to an organization, to a university, and not the other way around.
mm,
So usually, what happens is these universities try to hire students as PhD scholars, whom they're sure that okay, maybe they will get us five quartile one journal publications, or top index journals, top index conferences, or maybe a patent or a copyright. So it's a give and take situation. So you can reverse the card if you think about it, but not a lot of people know about this.
mm. You are very active on LinkedIn, as I said in the beginning. So this is the way we met. What is the idea behind that? So why are you so active on that? So is that something that is just because of it's something that you like to do, or is that something where you're saying, okay, this is actually just part of my approach towards things, and you would, yeah, please, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Yes. So thank you for asking, and I'm glad I did that, because otherwise I wouldn't have met you.
Mm,
So I started my journey on 12th of October 2023, a month after graduating from my university. I felt the need to be a part of the academic world, be a part of the student life a bit more. I felt that it all ended very quickly. I was just 22 years old, and everything ended. My academic life ended. I was like, it ended very early, and I want to continue doing this. I want to continue being a student. And the best way to be a student is to learn something, share it with the audience, so that in the process, you learn 10 other things.
mm,
And I always wanted to post on LinkedIn. I went up to my like teachers back in my undergrad, and they advised me not to do it because you don't have any credibility to doing it, or who has the time to read about this, and why would somebody listen to you or read about the things that you write. I took that advice, and I think that was not the right advice for me to take. So I delayed my process. I understood it on 12th October, but now I'm doing it because I want to network with people, talk to different people. And what I personally do is I've created a network of around 14,000 something. And now uh, I created a WhatsApp channel. From that, I created a WhatsApp group. Now I have multiple groups. We discuss a lot of issues. We discuss a lot of projects. We work together. We aim to grow together in that process. We meet every like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. We work on a particular problem. We think together. We just have fun, and
Mm,
it's a very good community experience. And I felt the need for it because university was fulfilling that for me
mm,
before I ever thought about it. But now I feel that void. I fill it with my LinkedIn connections or communications have on LinkedIn. After that, I started my own Calendly link. I used to just put it on my post so that people can just schedule meetings with me, 15-20 minutes of discussions. In about 2 months, I met around 45-50 people one-on-one
oof,
for just conversations talking about stuff that's happening in their life. I get to know a ton of things because for me it's like massive abundance information. Every problem that somebody's facing, I get to learn 10 things from them.
mm,
And I have that passion for information, getting to know things, have that drive to just try to solve a problem even if I can't reach a solution. I would direct them to, because I'm in contact with a lot of people from different backgrounds, from like different levels of work, different experience. So I direct them to my friends, the people I know, and which led me to meet a lot of interesting people. Now I have a list of people that I follow on LinkedIn. I
mm.
engage with their content, and I feel that no matter what you do, LinkedIn content creation or curation is always going to pay off in the long run.
So this
My
is definitely something that you would suggest others to do as well.
I would suggest somebody to do this if they are disciplined enough to do it continuously.
Mm,
It
okay.
is easy for one post to get viral, one post to get 500 likes, but it is difficult to get 50 posts to get 200 likes.
Mm,
So
absolutely.
reach a point to do that. And I wanted to spread awareness. I wanted to spread education. So what I thought of doing is, I know that I post a lot of videos, post a lot of viral videos and repost a lot of stuff, but then that's again playing the LinkedIn game. But with that, I'm able to accumulate the right audience because only the people who are technologists or roboticists or electronics people will engage with my content. They'll reshare, repost, comment, like, share.
Mm,
So it gives me the right niche of audience. And now I have 14,000 people, and if I post something about let's say inertial measurement unit that I did like 2 days ago, it got good enough reach. It got a reach about 15,000 impressions, and which is for a text post, I think it's a good deal for me. If I would have done that with 4,000 followers or 4,000 connections, I would have gotten a reach of 1,500.
mm.
I would like to reach a larger audience, and my audience, I would do everything possible to get that audience, even if it is resharing videos, balancing it with content creation, like guides or advices, or breaking down research papers. So I do that a lot, and in return I talk to a lot of people.
I mean, this is definitely a part that is interesting, very interesting for me personally, because I'm spending a lot of time on social media as well, especially because we are in the same niche and seems like we have the same kind of goal, educating people about robotics, automation, manufacturing. I do have much more questions. I really would like to do another episode because I do have the feeling that a lot of people have questions on that. And yeah, in the future, I would like to get feedback not only for the episodes I've been doing, but questions that I should be asking future guests. So I think we talked about this earlier, but I really would like to incorporate more people into that. You were mentioning your WhatsApp group. I will try to share the link with the audience when I will release this episode here. But yeah, I'm very thankful that you took the time to walk us through your upcoming and your studies, but especially telling people about your journey and about your struggles and how you overcome them and what are the strategies that other people can adopt and make work for them as well. So at the moment, you are still not there where you would like to be, but it's always nice to have a goal. And as you said before, it's always good to have a goal because then it's easier to break it down into smaller pieces and then dedicated tasks to those pieces and then step by step reaching your goal. And I think this is a strategy that is not only in robotics, but in general a good tactic.
Yes, yes. And again, two things I would like to mention. My first viral post was based on the post that you posted about open source robotics projects.
Hmm.
I I didn't even know you at that time. I just came across your post through the feed. I took your idea. I even tagged you in that post that I
Hmm.
was inspired by this. So that was my first robotics viral post.
Hmm.
And one advice in the end, I know you didn't ask, but I would just like to share this because I personally follow it. No matter what you're doing in life, like if you're not where you are supposed to be, or if you're not where you want to be, don't let go of your passion or don't let go of your hunger to be in that position. Because like proof, I still do this. I still do it every day. I still do it regularly, and I would like to continue it. And I will not or ever listen to anybody who suggests me not to do it. So
Hmm.
that's my final piece of advice that I would like to give undergrad students who are listening to me or anybody who finds this relatable. So thank you for giving me an opportunity, a platform to share my thoughts. I do have a lot to speak about, so I would love to come on the episode again. But thank you for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
No, the thanks is on my side. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting feedback on that episode and yeah, maybe getting a little bit of questions and ideas and inspiration for maybe a future episode where the both of us, or maybe where the third person will have. And maybe then you will be in a different position as the position that you are in now. Because as you said, you do need to have grit and you do need to stay with projects long enough, right? So this is my 8th episode, so I hope there will be many more episodes to come, and I will definitely reach out to you to have a second episode with you. Thanks for taking the time. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Take care.